Hello, good morning, and welcome to a Saturday edition of the video wrap up of my newsletter, which is normally, well, it was released every Thursday. And normally this video is released on the Friday morning, Friday fun one, Marshy vibes, finish the week on a high note. And unfortunately, I record Friday mornings and we had a minor family emergency this morning. Everything's fine now, but basically I had to cancel everything yesterday and get my partner to the physio. So let's reset and jump in. And I gotta say, recording this on a Saturday morning, it is a bit, less stressy because I'm not rushing to get it done so I can finish off the things on the Friday. I'm like, they're done. I'm just Saturday morning vibes right now. So let's get into it. In case you're wondering, lukemarshall.net/newsletter is where you go. You can read all the old newsletters to make sure, hey, I want to check and make sure this is something I want to subscribe to before committing. I've got you. You can scroll through them all. You don't even have to subscribe. You could click on that page each week and read it. But I could also email it to you each Thursday if you like. Anyway, so 38th edition. I tested and talk about a simple research survey tool called Voicepanel that my friend Kaz McGrath shared with me, and I'll get into a bit of detail about that. I caught a really good example on Indie Hackers recently, basically talking about flipping AI micro software companies. And last week was all about ADHD, and it'd be remiss of me not to continue updating on that as I've been busy on this side project, researching the crap out of knowledge workers that need ADHD. Cool. So the first thing I want to talk about is surveys, and in the nonprofit sector in particular, it's a very consultative sector. There's a lot of discovery, talking to subject matter experts, some research, trying to divine the answers they need to get the most impact. And I think the reason why it is a focus for research and strategy, one, it's important, but two, you're trying to do a hell of a lot more with less. And so Kaz did a little experiment the other day, basically asking people to test Voicepanel with her prompt. Voicepanel, it asks you, and I'll show you the thing down here, a series of questions over a very timed 8 minutes. And it basically just asks you questions and then you respond with your voice, what you're comfortable with. But what was pretty interesting about it was that based on your answers, it would actually ask you follow-up questions or questions about your answers. And so Kaz was asking about, using AI tools for nonprofit research. And my answers, I do a bit of this. I'm actually working on 3 live projects at the moment. And the interesting thing was whenever you interview in a survey, you've got some default answers. And so about 5-6 minutes in, I talked about one of the challenges of the sector is educating your clients and stakeholders on why things are important, and that can actually slow down progress because of that education element. I'm not saying it's important, it's just a factor. And that was my default answer to that question, but then it heard my answer and asked me a follow-up question. Can you give us another example? Which I thought, whether by fluke or by its intelligence, was actually pretty good, because then it stopped me jumping to the default and forced me to provide something with a little bit more thought. So yeah, Kaz, I've got the link there on her LinkedIn. You can check it out and you can see for yourself what that tool is like. Cool. I'm nothing if not entrepreneurial as well. And one of the communities I've been a member of for some time is Indie Hackers. And Indie Hackers has really good podcast hosted by Cortland Allen, but I really like the forums. There's just a lot of doer energy, action taking, and people testing and building things, and not necessarily always focused on success, because you see a lot of hype and sort of success bias in startup news in general. This is more, hey, I tried this thing and figured it out. I think it's something, or it might not be anything, but at least I learned this. And I like that stuff a lot better. And so the case study that I want to share, it's linked in the newsletter, was someone basically talking about building AI software with no-code tools, promoting it on a content delivery platform like Gumroad, and then flipping it, selling it for a very small sum on something like acquire.com. And so, if this happened once, that's fair enough. But the guy had repeated it 4 or 5 times and created a niche initially focused on teachers, built a bedtime story generator and real estate property listings, songwriting AI. And it's fairly simple if you know no code and how AI works. You've got a front end, a web app built with Bubble, which is sort of a drag and drop interface for connected to a database that lets you do these things. Unicorn Page Builder, many landing page builders out there. That's one of the better ones. Gumroad, you can create any digital product you want and either upload it to this platform and sell it for free in an email address, or for a cost, like you can buy my book on lukemarshall.net/startmarketing, for example. And he designed the templates in Canva. So there's an example on the screen. And flip these, sold these for $1,000 to $2,000 each. Well done, good hustle. I think that's really cool. The third thing I got excited about is a continuation from last week, ADHD Gold Machine, working title. And I've been in startup discovery mode, basically lining up 15-minute interviews with as many people who identify as an adult knowledge worker and have ADHD, and looking to share the learnings and basically discover the crap out of this problem to see if I can build a solution. Anyway, overlapping that is the fact that I'm a member of another community called Starter Story, and they've got a 30-day challenge where you commit to 2 hours of deep work every day for 5 days of every 7 days. It's really hard for me to commit 2 hours a day, but I've been chipping away and I've definitely done 10 out of the last 14 days of deep work. So pat on the back, man. Some of the things I've picked up from interviewing about 15 people so far, over 90% of the people I've spoken to are women. All interviewees have been diagnosed with ADHD since COVID, and that is obviously trending upwards. Demand is huge, and there's probably a bit of bias from the group that I posted this about in ADHD Facebook community, because if you're more active in a community, you're probably at the earlier discovery stage. One group of people seems to struggle with the mandates from companies to use things like SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and forcing someone who's neurodivergent, particularly with ADHD, to do something in a certain way with a template is like kryptonite for us. And so it doesn't really work for them, and we're trying to work that out. And another group were people like me, business owners, freelancers, and got sick of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and decided to forge their own path. Boom! Nearly all the solutions that people are talking about were related to how they work through their traits and how it presents in work. It was all related to, or unrelated to, technology. So they talk about breaks, chaining things together, chaining habits together, moving around, keeping the phones away from distraction. None of them sort of talked about a tech or software that stood out for them. And I thought that was really interesting. It might be because there is no good tech or software out there that sort of helps with this, or it might be they're unaware of what you can do with these capabilities. And that's the bit I'm a bit excited about. I'm going to keep interviewing people over this month and see where I land. I'm keen to ship an MVP. That doesn't mean most valuable player. It means minimum viable product in startup world. And I'm trying to do a low tech or a somewhat techie way to get that over the line by the end of the month. I'll keep you posted and wish me luck. That's it for this week's edition. Saturday morning. How good is this? And if you do want to subscribe to this newsletter and get a written format of all this wonderful news, you know where to find me by now. And remember, AI is coming, and the best thing we can do is just learn about it and learn to understand it. And I strongly believe man and machine is going to be better than just machine or just man. Thank you.